All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I want to take a look at the scorecards from the Open Olympia. They just got released, so we can talk about the placings that were outside of the top five. So we already know the top five because we just watched finals, but I want to show you guys these other placings. So in sixth place, Samson Dowda. This is a two-page scorecard, by the way, because there were so many competitors. So in sixth place, you had Samson Dowda. In seventh place, you had Hunter Labrada. Kind of a surprising decision to some people. A lot of people expected him higher. Eighth place, Andrew Jacked. Very solid placing for Andrew. I'm not surprised to see him in that spot. And honestly, I feel like in the future, he can place a lot higher. I think his conditioning was a little off here. I think he looked better at the Texas Pro. So the fact that he still got eighth, I think that was largely off the merit of how good his structure is, how good his shape is, and just the overall roundness and fullness of his muscle bellies is just so impressive. Even though his conditioning left a little bit to be desired, he still cracked the top 10 here. In ninth place, William Bonac. I was kind of surprised that William placed that low. I had William in eighth in my predictions, but even in my predictions, I felt like that was a very low placing for Bonac. So I was kind of surprised he placed even lower than what I predicted. So almost on the outside of that top 10 looking in. Then in 10th place, I like this decision. 10th place was Rafael Brandao. In all fairness, Rafael looked really, really good. I think that he really impressed me. I think he was better than I thought he was going to be. His conditioning was very tight. He looked better compared to the bigger guys than I thought he would. We talk a lot about the aesthetics of Brandao's physique. For a men open guy, he's got some very classic attributes. And I was wondering how he would stack up from a size standpoint with some of these top guys, and apparently very well. I think top 10 is a very good placing for Rafael, and pretty solid. Now, outside of that top 10, Ian Valliere actually wound up in 11th place. So I had Ian in 10th in my predictions. A lot of people thought I was predicting Ian too low as well. I was actually kind of surprised to see Ian in 11th, to be completely honest with you guys, because then in 12th, you had Michael Krizo. I was kind of surprised by that as well. But again, not everybody can be top 10. So Krizo, I think this was still a really solid outing for him, his first Olympia ever, kind of similar to Andrew Jacked. I feel like he's got a bright future because he could still come in, I think, a lot tighter than he was here. But from a size standpoint, very competitive with these guys, very on par with some of the biggest guys in this lineup, even though he was in kind of the second to third-ish call-outs. He looked good. I think he could look a lot better, and I think in the future he will place higher. He even did, I was looking at his Instagram earlier, he did a story on Instagram after prejudging saying he was expecting 11th, 12th, or 13th. And he said he was very happy with that. He said he would be happy with any of those placings, and I think that was a very humble prediction of him for himself. Now let's talk about some of the other placings here in the top five. So if you guys did not catch the finals wrap-up video, obviously Big Romy was in 5th. That was a big talking point. I was actually surprised by these scores because I thought if you look at the Romy page, at prejudging he had 25 points. At the finals he had 27. So that meant he was doing better at prejudging than he was at finals. I thought he looked sharper at the finals, and I thought he would have a better final score, and I thought maybe they had him in 6th at the finals, but apparently they didn't. Because again, bodybuilding is like golf. The lower score is the better score. The closer you are to 0, the better. But I will say, if you look at these scores, it's pretty good for Brandon Curry because Brandon is a guy that's been runner-up to Romy for the last 2 years. He's been unable to beat Romy at the Olympia, but Brandon did beat Romy in 4th place at both the prejudging and the finals, beating Romy by 5 points with 20 points at prejudging, and then by a pretty commanding lead, 7 points, 20-27 at the finals for a total score of 40, and Romy's total score was 58. So Brandon had a pretty decisive victory over Romy, which even though, we're talking about these guys that are outside of the top 3, and I'm sure Brandon and Romy are both disappointed with that, I'm sure Brandon is still somewhat happy that he was able to beat Romy at the end of the day, and he beat him pretty decisively based on these scorecards. But I was surprised to see that Romy was actually scored more favorably in prejudging because I felt like, and this might be kind of a boring video because we're just going to look at the scorecards. We're not going to show any videos or anything. I just want to look at these numbers here. But I did feel like prejudging, well, I didn't just feel like it. This is what they did. They kept Romy in the same place on the outside of the call-out as if he was 5th or 6th, and he was actually better at prejudging. And it wasn't until finals that they started moving him to the inside of those callouts. So I thought maybe he is looking better at finals. Maybe his final score will be closer. Maybe he made up some ground at the night show, but apparently he did not, and they had him worse at finals, which that is pretty surprising to me, to be completely honest. So third place, you had Nick Walker with basically a perfect score for third place at the prejudging with 15. That pretty much means every judge had him in third. A little bit less so at the finals with 17 for a total score of 32. Putting him right behind Derek Lunsford in second place. Derek had a score of 8 at prejudging, so pretty much unanimous that he was second place or better. And I think a score of 8 at prejudging actually means that he had some votes for first place. Because at prejudging, it was a 1-point decision between Hadi and Derek, so it was very close between the two of them. Derek had 8, Hadi had 7, so separated only by 1 point. Hadi did better at the finals with a score of 6 to Derek's 9 for a final score of 13 to 17. Hadi taking a 4-point lead over Derek Lunsford. Now, there was a lot of guys tied for 16th place. 16th is generally where they cut it off. If there's more competitors than 16, that's last place, and you tie for last. Some noteworthy names in there that were tied for last place that were completely out of the conversation. Akeem Williams, I think that's a noteworthy name because he was a top call-out guy. In the past at the Olympia, he was in the first call-out. Blessing Awodabu talked a pretty big game going into this Olympia. He was tied for last place. Let's see, who else is in the... Antoine Vaillant tied for last. James Hollingshead, another pretty big name going into this, winning the Tsunami Pro to qualify. He was tied for last place with a 160-point total. So again, first for some context, the higher the score, the worst. So you got Hadi Chupin, who won. His total score was 13 points. And then a guy that tied for last, James Hollingshead, 160, more than 10 times the score of Hadi Chupin. Justin Rodriguez actually did pretty well, I think, because he didn't tie for last, and he was, I think, the only guy in this lineup that qualified on points, not by winning a show. Justin actually got 15th, so he beat Blessing, he beat James, and he beat several other guys that won shows to get to the Olympia, so that's not bad for him. Charles Griffin as well found himself outside of not being a last-place guy. He was 14th, so he beat Justin, which means he beat Blessing, who beat him at the Indy Pro, so that was still good for Charles. And in 13th place, you had Patrick Johnson. So that is the scorecard recap for the 2022 Mr. Olympia Men's Open Bodybuilding category. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below about these results. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.
I think that every bodybuilder has something unique. If it is the pose off, or if it is a certain pose that really closes the deal. I think the action is a lot of it in a combination of symmetry, of size, muscle separation, definition, and the performance, so that you can show off this quality that you have. Because they have a lot.
All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.